San Diego County, 17 cities, unincorporated areas, 89 zip codes. We are online. You may download our app in the Google or Apple Store. And we do believe in the slogan that we have that a people without a voice cannot be heard. So this evening we have a very special program, and I'm happy to be once again returning in this new year 2025 with our co-host here, Dr. Leonard Thompson III, as we get about the business of sharing information. And Dr. Thompson, you have a couple of remarks before I introduce our guests?
Well, no, I'm very excited about our guest today, who's been a true friend and also always ready to share pertinent information. So I'm excited. Like they say, let's get it on.
Okay. Well, I guess this evening is San Diego District Attorney Mrs. Summer Stephan, and she is doing a phenomenal job. She has been one of those proactive district attorneys in the state of California, and this year she is serving as president of the National District Attorneys Association, which is quite an honor. And you know, many times in television, you see DAs that are making all kind of political decisions in terms of cases, and if the case is going to help them become a judge or win another election and those kind of things. We don't have any of those issues here. I mean, last time I think she ran unopposed last time, and the state has amended the term of office here for both the sheriff and the district attorney to extend it from 4 to 6 years. And so that gives some extra time. But tonight we're inviting her to spend time with us to discuss Proposition 36 and the impact of that proposition, which passed on the November ballot, the impact of it on Proposition 47, which we got in 2014, yes. And that was a very special proposition because in many instances, it came about as a result of some federal pressure being put on the California court system that we were like 180 some percent above what we should be in terms of housing people. And so what Prop 47 did was it reduced a number of offenses to misdemeanors. It transferred incarceration back to the county jails. And the idea, at least what we were told, was that doing so would free up funds to go back and be in support of the county programs. We don't know how much of that we really actually got. But tonight we're here for a very special reason because, you know, California was plagued by a number of smash and grab hits on brick and mortar stores where people were going in and they were coming in mobs and just trashing places. And one of the complaints was that the penalty for theft under Prop 47 was at a mere $950 and still in terms of remaining a misdemeanor. And so a lot of these things have changed. Fentanyl's been added as an issue under 36, and even language that one could get the death penalty if a person dies. And so I want to give over the amount of time that the district attorney needs to explain what she's doing, because she made it very clear that she was going to move on implementing the changes in Prop 36 immediately in terms of helping our county. So, District Attorney Summer, I'm going to give the mic to you, and you just go ahead, and I hope people are taking notes and learning from this, because let's say this is not just a unique situation. You've done this with Black Men and Women United. Because of your involvement, we were able to get a special task force to deal with complaints coming from from parents about school administrators who and some of us thought they were really having malfeasance in office in terms of things that were happening. So you've been a friend of the community, which to many people is an oxymoron considering the job that the district attorney's office has. But we want to, I'd like to yield the mic to you and welcome you to our program and just take it from there.
You, Dr. Warren, and thank you, Dr. Thompson. It's great to be with you. I have my issue of the Voice of and Dr. Martin Luther. It's a wonderful newspaper that has a lot of amazing perspectives that help me and inform me. And just sometimes holding the paper is something that is a comfort in itself,
Thank you.
because we read so many things online. And you know, I want you to kind of jump in with questions as I go so that there is an interactive atmosphere, but I'll give a little bit of the big picture
Okay.
of the big changes that have happened in the law. And Proposition 36, which is the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act, it was on the November ballot, and I knew from talking to different store owners, from small mom and pop businesses to large businesses. I knew from, talking to parents of people who are deeply addicted with the very, very tough drugs that we have. I knew from parents who've lost children to fentanyl that if anybody read the proposition, they would really think this is a positive balanced change. It's not a swing where we go from, just a citation and a misdemeanor, no matter how many times you steal, to like lock them up forever. It's a balanced approach to balance compassion with accountability. That's why I really supported the proposition. It seems like my sense on the street, because I love to get the news from the source, what are people feeling and thinking, was accurate, because it passed in a record like 68% of the voters. Most voters can't agree on anything, but there was agreement, which is then clear that this came from all sides of the aisle, that there was a consensus that this set of new laws were welcomed and were needed at this time in our history. And so what Proposition 36 did, there's like three big categories to it. And, the first category addressed the shortfalls or the unintended consequences of Proposition 47. Proposition 47, like you said, passed in 2014. It had very good intentions to lower incarceration. But what they didn't account for, I think, is the habitual repeat offenders. It's not everybody. We've got good people in our community, and we've got people that make mistakes, and they should be redeemed. They should come back in the fold. It shouldn't put a big label that they're a felon on their head forever. But what Proposition 47 failed to do is to differentiate your, first time and second time offenders from habitual criminals that are preying on businesses, small and large, that are destroying really, our ability to have these businesses thrive, which it doesn't benefit, especially the lower economic communities, because when you have stores close in those neighborhoods where they already have some food, dry deserts and other pharmacies that aren't available, the whole community suffers. So, I helped from the very beginning of Proposition 36, our team crafted some of the language. And what it did is it took this thing where you can steal as many times under $950 and it'll always be a misdemeanor or a citation, to the ability for someone who has 2 prior convictions to face a felony. But it isn't a mandatory state prison felony. It's a felony that you can still get it reduced to a misdemeanor if you do the things the judge tells you to do. If you address the root causes or whatever it is that's making you, drives you to crime. The second part of it is it addressed really that the rampant addiction we have, and fentanyl has really contributed to this, especially in our homeless population. You know, many times service providers tell us, I've offered services, I've offered shelter, but the person doesn't accept it. And when you kind of pull the curtain, you see that they're not able to accept it because the addiction is so deep. They don't want to be in a place where they can't use and continue to feed that addiction. So basically, we were kind of killing people with kindness. So what that translated to, which is a figure that a lot of people aren't aware of, is that our folks on the street were dying, according to our medical examiner, so very verifiable numbers, at 118 times higher rate than people who aren't homeless. So essentially, it's like, you know, we're just letting people, you know, just languish on our streets. So Proposition 36 created a new felony called a treatment mandated felony. So if you have 2 prior convictions for drug sales or drug possession, on the 3rd time, you get 2 doors. One door is you go to jail. The second door, you get a treatment program that the assessment team decides is the fit for you, what you need. And if you complete it, you end up with no conviction. The conviction disappears. So I think people saw this balance, you know, and this is why they gravitated to it, no matter what side they are, if they were, you know, believed in less incarceration or more incarceration, this really fit. And then the third category that it addressed is just the fentanyl deaths. 77,000 people died across the United States from fentanyl. I mean, when you picture 9/11 and the amount of people who died on the hands of criminals that we still suffer, there's 77,000 people that are directly linked to 2 cartels in Mexico that are, you know, funneling this poison across our border and causing the amount of death rate we have never seen in this nation from substance use and abuse. So we needed to do something. And what this proposition does is it provides a warning similar to in DUI cases where you get a warning that the next time that you drive while under the influence, you could end up killing someone and you could be responsible for a homicide. The same with fentanyl and meth dealers. If they're convicted, they get a warning. The next time that you sell and someone dies, you could face a murder charge. So it also brought an alignment between dealers with guns. It used to be that if you're a dealer and you have a gun and you sell methamphetamine, you get a much higher sentence than if you sell fentanyl, which is just as deadly or more deadly. So it brought it into an even. So those are the 3 main categories, and it went into effect on December 18. So we've had about 5 weeks now of looking at the impact, and it's already starting to have a positive impact. We know it'll take 6 months to really truly assess how the impact looks. But I tell you, you know, I read the reports and the cases are so sad. You know, people passed out in the middle of the street with drugs and they were never going to get treatment on their own. They are too deeply sick and addicted. And being able to come to court and have the judge say, hey, you know, you've got 2 doors. We want to save your life, but you have to accept treatment. It's been incredible for me because I know treatment works.
But this is not the first time that California has made such an offer. as I recall, maybe 30, 40 years ago, we were talking about incarceration with treatment and rehabilitation. And a lot of that was geared toward drugs in terms of rehabilitation. But then we went into this period where the three strikes issue came along, and uh, there are many theories about how that happened. Many people think that the uh, the law enforcement entities for the prison systems really pushed for three strikes so that they could have more job availability or overtime. But on this issue with Prop 36, at one point, the Wholesale Merchants Association, I believe, it put out a statement saying that the smash and grab scenario that people were experiencing was real, number one, but that a number of merchants who own brick and mortar stores were leaning toward Prop 36 because they saw their business going to online distribution, and they did not want to admit that they were losing to online. So at some point, these things are kind of coming together. The issues that you're talking about, we know the fentanyl issue is real. And so we've done a number of things to address it, but at the same time, we some people feel there was too much of a leaning on looking at 36 as an alternative solution to the smash and grab. So, uh, have you all seen any more or any reduction in these 5 or 6 weeks or anything?
It's really fascinating and an excellent point you bring up about the impact of things going online. Here's the irony of it. The irony is that what was really motivating the increase in these thefts, why you walk in the store now and you have everything locked up, right? You have to ask for
Yes.
a clerk to get a toothpaste and other things. That was happening because the people going in, the ones that we were worried about, the ones that we wanted to address, aren't the ones going in to steal a meal, because a candy bar, a kid stealing a 6-pack of beer because this is what kids do, right? It was people going in with a specific item that is going to be able to be resold online.
Okay.
What the organized criminals were doing is they were taking the suffering of the addicted, homeless people and other people, and saying, I'm going to pay you $100 for you to go in and get me this product.
Mm.
And this product sometimes even matched, as I studied it and as my team studied it, what kind of holiday are we having? Like around Valentine's Day, stores that sell perfume and like Ulta stores and Victoria's Secret, and they were getting hammered with thefts for not a need, not a necessity, which Prop 47 had the desperation of people, poverty in mind, which we all understand that it's a debilitating thing, poverty, and what people will do when they need to eat. This wasn't what I wanted to address in 36. It was the organized crime that had developed
Mm.
because our law allowed theft under 950 no matter how many times. So you go in this store and you steal what can be resold online, like 10 bottles of perfume that are $100 each about. You can go into the next store the next day or even the same day. And pretty soon you've got thousands of dollars worth of product, which we could not aggregate. Now we can under Props 36, and it was to be resold online. So what did that do? It was a double whammy to the stores, because not only is their business shutting down because they're losing all this product, their business is shutting down because people can more easily find their products for cheaper online.
Okay.
So a whole industry had grown up in this, what we call an organized retail theft industry. And there was no way to stop it without sending a clear statement that you're forgiven the first time, you're forgiven the second time, but the third time it's not a 3 strikes. You're not getting a mandatory state prison, but you are facing a felony that can be reduced if you do the right things.
Well, now this is an interesting point you're making because it's a misdemeanor if it's 950. A misdemeanor can be a sentence up to 1 year. If you do something that's more than a year, you can move into a felony. So the case you just gave, a person could rob like 4 or 5 stores in the same day, get caught at each location, get a citation for what they did, and go back and look for the next store. And it would just keep on going. And so this idea of aggregating misdemeanors is not, the people need to know it's not a new concept in law. You've had to do it before where people just abused a misdemeanor classification to the extent that something more serious had to be done. So I don't think we knew
Exactly
that
right.
that it was organized. I mean, we saw folks on television hit a store and just grab everything. And I remember in the community one time when we were located on Euclid, there was a clothing store next door to us. And I remember one day, I couldn't believe what I saw. This was like 20 some years ago. These cars pulled up and all these young people got out and rushed into this store and they just like cleaned it out. It was like locusts hitting the place. And the owners all could do was stand back. There were so many of them. And they just grabbed everything they could and went right back out the door and drove away. And so now, from what you're saying, this is not just random. This is like an organized effort. And I don't think most people maybe understood that in terms of the campaign that was against 36. Uh, and so I think that's an important point.
Yes, it's not, we're not, I mean, my direction to my team, we're not looking for the person who goes in and takes a coat because they're cold. We don't believe in stealing, but even if the law allowed us to charge that as a felony, and we had a case like that, we charged it as a misdemeanor, you know, because that is not the target. The target is those people that are causing our stores to close, to shut down, for customers to feel unsafe because they're watching this activity, and for stores to feel like they can't act. What's the point of even calling a police officer if all you're going to do is give a citation? This funny story, when Prop 36 passed, a lot of the repeat thieves thought it like laws that it doesn't go into effect till January. Most of our laws don't, but it went in because propositions go into effect 5 days after the results are certified by Dr. Weber. So that meant it was December 18. So on December 19, this repeat offender that had so many misdemeanors never came to court because it's a misdemeanor, a citation, nothing's going to happen. He literally told the officer, officer, why are you arresting me? It's under $950. It's a misdemeanor. And the officer said, I'm sorry, it went into effect December 18. You're out of time right now, So
Gee.
so it shows you that they're sophisticated. They understand and that's the target group for us. It isn't, people who make their first and second mistake. And, I'm very vigilant. I want our justice system to be balanced, but, where it balances the rights of the community to be safe, the right of store owners to be safe, the right of customers in these stores to be safe. And we also saw that the complete lack of consequences were people were becoming more emboldened. And I was at a store and I talked to a young clerk, her first job, and she said, I never thought that working here would feel dangerous. But
Hmm.
she said to me, she goes, DA, I have to make sure I don't make eye contact with someone who's stealing because they look at me like, what are you looking at? This is not almost like a feeling like we've legalized stealing. It's not even illegal in their mind. Because as you know, and I think, Dr. Martin Luther King put it best, it's like, we speak through our laws, and we don't, if we don't have laws that are balanced, then everything kind of goes out of whack.
One of the things I wanted to ask you is, say you are a store owner and people come in and snatch and grab, and you just happen to have a nice baseball bat, and you hit somebody in the knee, thus detaining them. What consequences as a store owner do you have on you? Meaning that, will you be charged with assault and battery? Can you be sued for stopping somebody from stealing from your store?
So the answer is that it is a case by case basis. You have the right to defend yourself, life, your defend yourself, defend your employees. But if somebody is stealing without any violence being used, any knife being put out, right? So you're not actually facing a danger to, then you can absolutely detain them. And let's say while you're detaining them, they slip or something accidental. That's different, but every case has to be evaluated as what is it that the person did to have to bring about your right to defend yourself.
And
So
District Attorney,
yeah.
to stay with his point for a moment, because a lot of people don't understand this, see, because it gets to be a question of how much force are you permitted to use. Now, it's one thing if you just grab the broom and hit somebody with it. Is another thing if you got an oak axe handle that you were sitting there. And so while you stop the person, depending on who's on the prosecutorial side, they could come after you from the standpoint of committing a mayhem because you were injuring the person beyond what they thought was necessary. And I think that so many times there's a need for people to understand where the limits are. And as you were talking just now, I was thinking that a lot of people, as I've talked to people over the years, done stories in the whole bit, a lot of people don't understand that the role of the district attorney is to protect society where society can't protect itself. And so that's why in so many instances you could have a person say, I want to drop charges, but the charge is not against the individual, the charge is against society, which the individual is a part of. Do you find that people understand that? Or that, I'm just wondering. I just throw that out.
Yes. No, I mean, it's a good part of our discussion is that, one of the reasons I love this job and I've never left it is because in law, you usually have a client and the client pays you, to do a certain thing or to get a certain result, and sometimes it may be uncomfortable. It may not be what sits well with you morally, being the district attorney, when done right, which is what we strive for to pursue that justice, you represent the people. You don't have a client.
Right.
So that people actually includes society, it includes the victim, but it also includes the accused, the defendant. We owe a duty to that defendant to be forthright, to provide the evidence, to not hide the ball, to make sure that we explore the potential of exculpatory evidence. So it's a very wonderful job because very few law jobs allow you that freedom to just do the right thing. But on the force, when you're talking about stores, as opposed to like somebody's in your home, right? Because that presents immediately as a
Right.
potential danger to your life, your kids, but if you're in a store, I mean, it isn't that I'm not at all saying that you shouldn't detain the person, because if you have the right training, you have the right people there, you have security, you have, officers, security that are trained. Detaining somebody using reasonable force until police come, doing a citizen's arrest is lawful. Using force that can damage somebody, without the person displaying a knife or a gun or something that puts you in danger, that's going to be a different story. So, the best thing to do is, if you feel like you're in that spot, is get all the information you can, the description, capture the video evidence. Putting a video camera in your store now is so cheap, get the license plate of the car they got into, and then we're able to continue that investigation. And now with Prop 36, there's more incentive for officers to do their work because they know it can actually have an impact that's positive on public safety.
And people have to use some common sense too. I was just thinking, about 25 years ago when I came here, close to 30, one of the first jobs I had was working in a liquor store in the evening. And I will never forget, I won't say where it was, but one evening, a team of people came in to the store. They went back to the beer case. They took as many things of beer as they could carry. And they looked at me, and my attitude was almost, can I hold the door for you? It was no way. It was no way that I was going to try to stop 4 or 5 people, and I'm the only person there. Okay. And sometimes people miss that. I see people go out of the stores chasing folks, which is a mistake, to do that. And they get confused. I mean, the store has insurance, they'll be covered, but you only get one life. And you have to use some real wisdom. The other piece on that, though, District Attorney, is that many criminals understand the difference between a robbery that occurs without a gun or a knife, because the penalty is different in terms of armed robbery as opposed to robbery. And so sometimes we have to help the community understand that element too, because you can be placed in fear and intimidation without a weapon, which is important. So I don't know. Can you say how because many people don't see your deputies necessarily sensitive to the elements that I'm mentioning, and that's important.
No, absolutely. I mean, robbery comes in different forms, and it's a very serious thing. I mean, robbery is a serious charge. It carries a potential of a prison penalty, even if you don't have a gun or a knife.
Right.
So, robbery can include like those kinds of weapons, but it can also include threats of, I have a gun in my pocket, I'm gonna kill you, even if it turns out you don't have a gun, if you don't give me the money. So anything that uses force and fear to extract the money, as opposed to just walking in and taking something off the shelf, is going to separate you. It's going to become no longer a theft, but rather a robbery. So, some of the things in 36 clarified that, like when you have a group that comes in and they're smashing and the glass could be flying
Right.
to affect the employee, that could start looking like a robbery as opposed to so we analyze those cases for those elements to see if the theft is really been transformed now to a robbery because of the elements of not just having a weapon, but the elements of a threat or a type of fear that's created through the actions of the perpetrator. I think, when you're talking about these theft cases, we've since January 18, we've had 63 charged cases in the county. So 63 cases, but these are the most prolific people. So it's already it sounds like a small number, but it's already having the kind of impact, because you're not trying to kind of take the low-hanging fruit of people who just make mistakes that can be rehabilitated quickly. Now, where I think we need a lot more work, and I'm very grateful that the Superior Court is, really working on this issue to implement Proposition 36, because it will require the court, but it'll also require behavioral health and our county to invest in this. Is the promise of Prop 36 when it comes to the people who are possessing drugs, who are addicted, is we've promised them that they're going to get treatment, and treatment has to be provided. And that means that we need the investment in treatment in these courts to make it a
But isn't
success.
one of the complaints that while the proposition made these provisions available, I I don't believe it made provision for the money to accommodate the element that you just mentioned. So they're shifting a burden to the county without additional funds being earmarked for this particular matter, right?
So, yes, but when the law passes by the people, it is the responsibility of the state and county to implement that law. And that's always been the age old. And in this situation, a proposition passed before Prop 36 that made us believe that the money is going to be available, and that's Proposition 1.
Right.
So Proposition 1 sent millions of dollars for mental health treatment, substance use treatment, beds to the counties. But at this point in time, there has not been a specific allocation, and we're hoping that will happen soon. We're gathering the data and the numbers. That's why I'm tracking all my numbers. So, for example, I can tell you that under this treatment category, we have 156 individuals in 5 weeks. So we're gathering that data so that the county can, working with the Superior Court, working with the public defender, that we can allot the right amount of funding from Proposition 1, from general mental health dollars that are available, to implement a law, that was passed by the people. So we can't ignore it. We have to implement it. The other thing is that, remember, people argued that Prop 47 diverted money from not incarcerating somebody, and that they're going to use that money into treatment. Well, that didn't happen. We have many, many more people who are sick and addicted. Why? Because just asking for somebody to voluntarily engage in treatment doesn't always work. And all of the research is showing that mandated treatment or voluntary treatment have the same rates of success. And so the Prop 47 savings, because the first time they're not going to jail, they're getting a misdemeanor. The second time they're not going, those savings should still be used for treatment the third time.
So,
So this is a work in progress. This is like a daily grind, trying to get all, and everybody's, no one is not working hard on this. The court is working very hard on this. We want to implement the will of the people. And the public defender is doing what they need to do, which is to make sure that their clients are protected and that the clients get the deal that they were promised, which is treatment and a potential to have no conviction at the end. So, and behavioral health is, we are trying to engage as best as we can to make this a success. I mean, it'll be a beautiful thing if we can, really save lives through treatment.
so I want to ask a question. Do you see all treatment programs as equal, or are there some that are better than others, and the ones that are better, how do we duplicate those, and those that are not as successful, how do we then take them out of the circulation? Because sometimes I have heard people going into certain programs, but they weren't the best programs, so they went in and the treatment didn't really work and they were back on.
You're so right. I mean, we have some treatments that are really just money making, and they're not, and you see people overdose in them even, and it's very sad. And, I think the county tries to contract with people with proven track records, and, they've had a big attention on the supervisors have on mental health treatment, expanding that. So I think we have some really good providers. The beauty in terms of this Prop 36 is it didn't say you have to do a year of treatment. You have to do 18 months of treatment. It said an independent expert assessor in mental health and addiction will do an assessment and will provide a tailored fit for you of what you need. For some people, maybe outpatient is sufficient, with drug testing, with other things. For some people, it's inpatient. So it provides a lot of leeway to get it right. And that's really what I'm hoping for. I know the county is committed to expanding addiction and mental health treatment. We have the opioid settlement monies, we have the Prop 1 monies. But, as the DA, I feel an urgency to implement the will of the people and not fail the people, because we promised them and the persons who are suffering from addiction, we promised them viable treatment.
Well, I want to make an observation. Pre-pandemic, there was a point where San Diego County had to return to the state $3 billion in money that was earmarked for behavioral health, but it did not get allocated or it didn't get used. Now, Medi-Cal, as you know, has gone under some changes since last July. And there are, in many respects, there are greater benefits available in terms of behavioral health treatment under Medi-Cal than under Medicaid. Okay. And so, but as you were talking, I'm remembering in the community, we lost some of the major kind of programs we had, like Palavatry went away. And there was another one that we had. These programs left and new people got contracts, but without naming folks, some of those contracts moved the dollars that were in our community to East County, and they weren't doing as many things as they might have been able to do. And so now we have tremendous mental health needs in our schools. Dr. Thompson and I, a year before last, we had a major, in August of 22, I guess it was, we had a major webinar to talk about mental health and the shortage of people in the schools. So this component that's coming now with Prop 36 is going to add some people. And one of the advantages under 36 that I noticed we didn't mention yet is that the way it's written, it gives the judge a tremendous amount of discretion and latitude. And that's very significant because many times the judges were locked in terms of what they could or couldn't do, even though they knew his sentence didn't necessarily fit, they were locked in. So have you all had any judicial discussion in terms of how the judges will work with you on this implementation?
Yes, Dr. Warren. I mean, that was really important to me too, to have checks and balances. So having the judges have the discretion, that's why it's not it's not like a three strikes law, what we had before that, went to extremes in some points, because the judges didn't have the discretion. This one has a lot of judicial oversight and discretion. And I know the court leadership is working very, very hard to implement this. One of the things the court is looking at, and we're looking at it, is because Prop 47 kind of took out the incentive to engage in the hard road of treatment because it's always a misdemeanor or citation, are proven evidence-based drug courts that had like an 8% recidivism rate, and they were a great place. I go to the graduations, and it's always amazing to see the transformations that are led by a court and a prosecutor and public defender and mental health experts. They were half full. And the reason they were half full is because you're not going to sign up for treatment when you're deeply addicted if there isn't a stick. There has to be like a carrot and a stick.
Right.
So the first place that we are recommending to fill, to use up the resources that are already there, is to send more people into drug court now that we have this new drug mandated felony. And those are the discussions we're having with behavioral health, with the court. And, we really have a great thing in San Diego that everybody has their point of view, but we understand that what the people need from us is to problem solve and to come up with solutions. And that's our goal.
Okay. Dr. Thompson? Yep.
Well, no, I want to thank you so much for bringing some clarity to the program. Now I can see some of the snatch and grab peoples are starting to start calculating about what they can or can't do. I even had in my mind what would take place if, say, for instance, there were 10 people in the store snatching and grabbing, but you were the only one to get caught. Could we then take the other 9 and add all of what they took onto the one, or is the one still by themselves? Because I'm just trying to encourage them not to do it. Could they be the one that be left behind, the one left behind get it all?
You
Well,
can add, Doctor.
yeah, that's under the felony.
Because
Well,
that's like an
I'm
aiding,
thinking,
abetting.
yeah, if you one person and you a part of it, even if you just driving a car, you get caught up in it, just like the person that went in the store and did the crime, right?
Yeah, but I like what you're thinking. We're gonna.
Just catch one.
Yeah, hold the one, right? Because the one will know about the rest.
Yeah.
They'll make a deal. Well, we want to thank you for taking the time. I mean, it goes pretty fast. And I think it was important. And we appreciate the fact that you are always available to come back and talk to the community. We're going to make a point real soon to also have you come back to Black Men and Women United, because I think we need an update on that task force that we set up
Yes.
4 or 5 years ago. And we've been through now, we're on our 3rd superintendent since then. And, they set up a separate task force at the same time that confused people a bit. So that's one of the items we want to come back and revisit as well. But we appreciate the fact that you are available, and we really want to wish you all kinds of success in this new role as you go to Washington. We were talking beforehand, coming from D.C. and Capitol Hill, this is the time of year where everybody comes to make the pitch for their program, to get it before the members of the House and the Senate and the President. And as you already see, this year is turning out to be real different in terms of what's happening and the kind of executive orders and the changes that are going on. So I'm going to be very interested in seeing how you all are received. Well, I guess you'll be received in a good way because the Justice Department is being reprogrammed to be more favorable. So it's just going to be interesting if you'll be able to bring any equity or justice to the discussions there. Just my own point of view. Nothing.
And I would be proud to represent San Diego, to advocate for our crime victims, to have funding, to have, security for our, region. So, these, yeah, I'm honored with the role. It's also been a great fun to be able to bring a lot of our models, in juvenile restorative justice and all of that we've done here with your help with getting the ideas and direction from the community.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me. Thank you for letting
Well,
me.
but before you
explain
go, I
the-
just want to mention too, you have been one of the leaders in the issue of bail reform And we haven't talked about that lately. Okay, no bail. And in terms of the question of equity, whether people should be released that don't have money or whatever. In San Diego, uh, you got a program off the ground even while everybody else was still thinking about it. And even when they had cases like DC that had a whole different set of numbers. So at some point, we just have to, I know you do an annual report, but we need to start breaking out some pieces of that report and sharing them during the year with folks so that they can be reminded of just how much we're really getting done. And we thank you.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
I also want to say to your security force, tell the guys and women that we say hello. They are some of the nicest, thorough people, and we appreciate them for doing all the work that they do. Also,
I'll pass that on. I'm very proud of the team. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
And thank you again and have safe journey.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
take
Take
care.
care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Well, Dr. Warren, that was a very good interview. Very excited about what is taking place. Let's get down to, we got a few minutes. I want to talk about the gala because the gala
Yes.
is right around the corner. It is February 7th. I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that it's happening. The bad news is that if you don't get your tickets by tomorrow, there will probably be no more room in the inn because we're very close to being sold out. You know, you have a bevy of entertainment that is coming. It is going to be second to none. So I just want to pitch it over to you, and you can share a little bit more about the gala that we're excited about.
Well, we extended the date cutoff time till 3 p.m. Friday. And we did that because we noticed that we had put out some mixed signals in our news bites. And so, but as of 3 p.m. Friday, there will be no more tickets. There's no at the door sales. The whole thing, it is sold out. And we're excited about it. It's at Liberty Station Conference Center where we were last year. It's black tie, formal. And so I'm encouraging people, especially the men, to dress accordingly, that people come. And I put out in the note, if you don't have a tuxedo, you can wear a black suit and white shirt and a tie, and you still be acceptable as black tie. But this thing about showing up with a no tie, open collar, like you go on a happy hour, that's not going to be permitted.
I was wondering if I could set up a vending booth out there called Rent a Ties.
You're going to have to rent a more than a tie. You're going to have a black jacket too. And, you know, it might seem hard, but we are establishing a precedent of class and decorum. And every society must have things that it value and respects. And so this is our 65th year as a publication in the community, but it's also the 197th or 198th year of the Black press, which is even more important today when we look at what's happening under this new administration in terms of rollbacks, attacks on affirmative action, rights, book banning, freedom of speech, all of these things. And so not only are we the trusted messenger, but we have messages at our event that I think are going to resonate with people in terms of what we're doing. I want to say that Dr. Thompson, you've done an outstanding job with this event. I don't think people realize how much you were involved. If it was the Jackie Robinson breakfast, 1,500 people, you handled all of that setup. You handled the People's Breakfast that held. You handled the Urban League. You handled Blue Heart. I mean, you've just done a phenomenal job with all of these events that involve people. And I want to share with folks that we are not going to stream this event until after it's over. So this is going to be like the old days with the Chargers, where if the stadium sells out, it's streamed. In this case, we're not going to be streaming it until afterwards. We will put it online with the other events that we've had. But it's going to start at 6 p.m. Until 3 p.m. Friday. We can make some adjustments. But after that, for all intents and purposes, it's like on the airplane. The door is closed, it's locked, and we're going down the runway.
And that's 3 p.m. this Friday.
This Friday.
So that would be the 31st.
Yes.
Not the Friday of the event, but this Friday.
Yes.
Very excited. A lot of buzz going on about this year's event. You're one of the few organizations that have downsized table size from 10 to 8 so that
Yes.
it's more roomy, but also being respectful to COVID, RSV, as well as the flu. It is that time of season, so we want to give more people a little bit more room so that they're not on top of each other, and we're spacing out tables so that we don't pack them in like sardines. So very, very excited about this. Your entertainment, is going to be second to none. You have Maria Antoinette.
It's going to be a very unique presentation from her, number one. And that's very crucial. But also, Dr. Thompson, I want people to know that last year tickets were $155, $150. This year we reduced the price to $95, working with our sponsors so that we wanted to be more affordable for people to be able to attend. We have a phenomenal cadre of people.
I got to interrupt you.
What?
Because, see, sometimes people think you lowered the ticket price because you didn't hit your number. We hit our number last year.
Oh, yes.
We sold out last year at that price. The reality is that Dr. Warren, seeing the economy and everything that is taking place, he said, let's lower our price so that people who were going to come anyway would not have that extra burden. They can buy some eggs now.
Right, and our sponsors understood that because we made it clear that we were doing this to benefit the community. We're not doing it as a money maker for Voice and Viewpoint, and we are maintaining a standard in many instances at our own expense because of what we want to establish and have go forward. So we're excited. That's why the women always dress appropriately. It's the guys that we had issues with. And so we're still working on them, and we're going to help them come around.
Well,
But
the women, they love to get dolled up.
oh yeah, they look beautiful.
And I always get tickled at gala time because you see so many glitters.
Yes, you do.
You see glitter everywhere. And I said, all right for the glitter.
Well, we got the red carpet photos that'll be done, and what people should know is that the event itself airs the rest of the year. I mean, we still have people looking at last year and the year before and the year before that, and all of those events are there. And so we're just really excited, and we hope that we will accommodate any number of folks that show up until 3 o'clock Friday.
Yeah.
And that means we've already hit our quota that we had in mind, but we will expand on that if we have additional people because we think it's important, the people that we're honoring, the awards and the whole thing.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear what I call the state of the press, your statement moving forth. I think that is very apropos in this season that we hear from one of the oldest black publishers in the country. And we have some uphill battles ahead, but telling the real story from a black and African American perspective is going to be very essential for us to get the true knowledge that we're going to need in this season.
Well, on your point there, what's so special too about this year is we're in a transformative state, and we're going to lay out just where we are. A few years ago, we talked about change, and we are in the midst of a phenomenal change. And I have an outstanding report in terms of our growth and what we did last year and where we're going forward. And a lot of it is going to be quite surprising to people. As one of my colleagues used to say, this is no longer your grandma's newspaper. We're not just a print. We are a communications entity with a global reach and a global approach. And I think a lot of it is going to be surprising but welcome.
Well, this is from the desk of the editor with Dr. John Warren. The time went by fast, but we appreciate you all tuning in. Tune in next week. We'll have much, much more information for you. Dr. Warren, final word.
We just encourage you to not panic. We have an outstanding editorial this week, 2 editorials, one dealing with our response to 2025, which is online, and I think you will enjoy it. And the second one deals with the footnote 7 issue in Encanto in southeastern San Diego, where I've written a dissenting opinion against the report that the city attorney put out. And I spoke to the planning committee just a couple of nights ago about this. So pick up this week's paper. It's out tomorrow. It's online tomorrow. And just be blessed.
Y'all have a blessed evening.